Welcome to the SFL Postgame Show. Let's take your calls starting right now. The line is open, 210-473-8428. And hopefully I can get people on the air quickly tonight. And without technical difficulty, as we sometimes make a mockery of just a simple phone call here on this show. But if you're just joining us or just tuning in late, Louisville gets revenge on Houston, 45-34. They beat the Houston Hyenas tonight to drop the Hyenas to 0-3. The Oklahoma City Renegades, wow, they win the game 17-16 over the DC Dragons. They hold Deion Hawkins to under 100 yards. And DC loses the game by a point because DC missed an extra point in that game. And then on SFL in 3 tonight, a really ugly affair. Sioux Falls beats NYC 34-24 in really a bizarre and not really a good showing from either side, as NYC drops to 1-2. Sioux Falls improves to 3-0. So we end up with, I believe, 4 undefeated teams going into next week: Santa Fe, Dallas, Sioux Falls, and and Louisville. But, 210-473-8428 is the call-in. And we want to hear from you. 828, you're on the SFL Postgame Show.
Hey, it's Alan, offense coordinator for the Houston Hyenas.
Hey, Alan, a tough night tonight. You've just got to be what is the word for those last couple of drives? Because Houston had a chance to win the game there.
Well, as my player did, completely frustration. I mean, we're at the point of the season. I mean, I know there's still 9 weeks left, but, I mean, we can tell our players that we scored over 30 again, but, I mean, overall, we're going to have to rebuild. I don't know what is it. I mean, we thought we had a good game plan defensively and offensively with Greg Corky and DR Sim run the defense, me and Sam the offense, but, I mean, giving up 45 to the number 2 team in the power rankings is very upsetting.
Yeah, I mean, and yet you had the opportunity and the chance to win the game there at the end. In practice, I'm sure it wasn't a game plan to go to a non-star receiver so much tonight, and that's just what ended up happening. Had you seen, or could you have foreseen Abuazi just not finding anyone else but Washington open, seemingly there at the end of the game?
Exactly. I mean, our number 3 receiver, even Chris Geary, I mean, he wouldn't even found open. I mean, our 4th receiver on our depth chart, I mean, sometimes that's how the AI rolls, and we went through a new scheme this week, and it showed some positives on our passing game, but on our rushing game, I mean, it didn't help our rushing game as much. I mean, we did give 2 picks, and a lot of it, I mean, has to do with Louisville's pressure. I mean, Lou Wolfpack, he runs an outstanding blitz. I mean, he got after Steven tonight, and he blew him up, and I think he just took him out of his rhythm.
You've got the defending champs next week. They come to your house. Obviously, this was a revenge game for Louisville, but I'm sure that game means a lot to you guys and is a revenge game for you and your fans. Queen City's struggling right now. 2 straight losses, and their offense seems to be hurting. Any thoughts on Queen City and the Week 4 matchup?
Well, it's a short week for us. I mean, we got Queen City next week and less than a week, and I know right now they're kind of down this year, so I mean, we need something positive to take over. We're back home after a long 2-game road trip to 2 teams that were in the playoffs last season. I mean, to Tallahassee and Louisville. I mean, you open up against the 2, playoff teams that we had. I mean, it's a rough place to start your SFL season.
Alan Drum, offensive coordinator for the Houston Hyenas and defensive back for the Hyena defense. I'm sure you were just as surprised as us, or probably the most surprised on the field when you saw Overstreet trotting back out there.
Exactly. I thought I put a John Lynch on him, and I've never seen somebody get up John Lynch's side. That was my biggest hit I ever done in my 2-year SFL career.
Well, thanks so much for the time, Alan.
It was pretty surprising.
Thanks so much for the time, Alan, and good luck next week, man. Keep your head up.
Thank you so much.
Alan Drum, offensive coordinator for Houston. Another night where Houston scores over 30 points and suffers a loss. They fall to 0-3. Tallahassee and Orlando are atop that South Division at 2-1. And Santa Fe, well, actually, I stand corrected. Santa Fe is on top of the South at 3-0. It's a very tough division, and just two games out of third place already are the Houston Hyenas. Open line now, 210-473-8428. Call in if you have thoughts on this game from a number of games around the league. Oklahoma City beats D.C. 17-16. A surprising upset based on the pick'em. More than double the people participating in pick'em this week selected D.C. to beat Oklahoma City, so an upset there according to SFL Nation. Sioux Falls wins, but Tyree throws 6 interceptions, and honestly, NYC had no business being in that game. 2-0, you're on the SFL postgame show. Greg, you there?
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to the program.
Hey. Oh, thanks for having me.
Greg
What
Morris.
a debut, huh?
What was that?
I said, what a debut, huh?
Yeah, I guess you could put it that way. Greg Morris, the new head coach of the Houston Hyenas, and you've got to be pretty bent out of shape about this one.
Actually, I'm feeling pretty encouraged. I mean, you come in with a team that's 0-2, and you know there's a lot of things that we needed to configure and get in place to move forward and be competitive, and I knew that. So I didn't come in here thinking, that just because I showed up that we were going to change the world. We're a good team, but we're a team where we're missing just a few things that we need to do correctly to win. I'm real positive. I'm real positive about what took place tonight.
What did you see that was something that maybe looked better to you from week 2 to week 3, and what were the things that you saw tonight that you still were just really frustrated with the guys in the locker room?
Well, I mean, we missed some tackles and we dropped what I think you said 5 passes.
Yeah, it's brutal.
But that's Now the drop passes, that's kind of on us too, because I mean some of those guys we probably shouldn't be throwing to them to begin with, but that's on us to configure and set our playbook up so that doesn't happen. And that's what we're in the process of doing, making things so that we put our players in a better position to make plays. And well, we kind of fell short tonight.
Greg Morris on the line with us, head coach of the Houston Hyenas, just 1 week in. Regardless, you're 0-3 with the defending champs coming in, but they have lost 2 in a row, and they do look a bit shaky. There's, I'm sure, a lot of pressure to not go 0-4 because you're already 2 games back of third place in your own division. How do you turn things around against the Corsairs? Because it's not that Houston is getting blown out in these games. They've lost all 3 games by less than 2 scores.
Well, that's what I was saying. I mean, we're in the games. I mean, we're not, like you said, we're not getting blown out. And all we have to do is just stay the course. I mean, it's still a fairly long season. And, yeah, we're 0-3, but there's, like I said, there's just some things that we need to tweak. We need to configure here, configure there, to put our guys like Kanye, Darnell Black, Farnsworth Bentley, Steve Abawaji. I mean, we just need to put them in the position to make and call better plays. And we're just not, I mean, for lack of a better word, we're just not there yet. But we will be.
Louisville's 3-0. You got to face them. We've got Santa Fe at 3-0. We've got Dallas at 3-0. Sioux Falls 3-0, and those two play each other next week. Of the 4 3-0 teams, who has caught your eye as just a fan of the SFL and a coach in this league?
I'm gonna actually Santa Fe. Santa Fe is really doing Ramos. He's doing a really good job with that team. So yeah, I'm a Santa Fe fan, and I'm a Louisville fan too. So far as what they're doing. I mean, we lost to them, but the fan in me is impressed with what they did to us tonight. So that's how you learn. You fall off the horse, you get back on. You fall off again, you get back on, and that's how you learn. That's how you figure out the mistakes you made, and you try not to do them again. So I don't see this season as a wash yet. Yeah, we're 0-3, but I still think we can sneak in and get in and play out. So we just got to write the course. We've got another week. I mean, we're going to face, well, not a full week, but we're going to cut a short week. We're going to face the Corsairs. But I saw some things tonight that we can do, and I really do. I really do think that we'll be okay next week against the Corsairs.
Greg Morris, head coach of the Houston Hyenas and former routine color commentator of the SFL. You have no idea how many people wish that you were still doing calls with me routinely. I miss you, buddy.
Hey, well, if we keep playing like this here, you'll probably have me back sooner than you expected.
Best of luck to you on the field next week against the Corsairs.
All right. Thanks, Cam.
Thanks so much. Greg Morris, head coach of Houston. Open line now, 210-473-8428. As we break down all of the action tonight on the SFL postgame show, Oklahoma City beats D.C. Really surprisingly, and I'm surprised we haven't heard from anybody from the Renegades tonight because they've got to be bouncing off the walls. Their defense was tremendous again. Certainly, quite possibly, and Dak Stats will tell us officially tomorrow, but the best run defense in the league. And I don't know how it's possible that a team can go from the worst run defense in the league from the last 2 seasons to the best run defense in the league. Of course, it's only been 3 weeks, but Oklahoma City with a big turnaround there. And Sioux Falls is 3-0, 409. You're on the SFL postgame show.
Jamari Mito, Houston Hyenas.
Mr. Mito, you're brand new to this squad. You got a brand new coach. You were returning kicks tonight and punts in your debut, but you come up short with the loss. What has it been like this week being a part of the Houston organization and trying to get your feet wet with a team that are the defending runners up but are really struggling right now?
Well, to be honest, Mr. Irvine, I was really nervous when it came down to not only being a part of the Houston Hyenas, who, as you mentioned, were the runners-up of the Simulation Football League last season against the Queen City Corsairs, but also being a part of the SFL in general. It's just a crazy roller coaster ride of emotions that I'm just trying to struggle to stay on even on my first week,
I bet, and you've been following this league for a long time. Why don't you share your story with the SFL faithful? I don't quite frankly, I don't know how long you've been following us, but I know it's been a while.
Well, I basically been following you guys ever since I was, seeing the fact that I graduated Lamarck High School about 5 years ago in Galveston County, Texas. I would say that I've been following the Simulation Football League ever since it was the World American Football League all those years back, 7 or 8 years ago. So to basically see where that has come from back then to where it is now, it's kind of exciting. And now that I'm a part of a team, I just hope that we'll see more fans and more excitement when it comes down to the SFL. And, even though we didn't get the win tonight, even though the Hyenas didn't get the win tonight, I still feel pretty proud of being a part of this community, not only as a fan but as a player.
So what made you finally decide to pull the trigger and say, you know what, I'm going to get in this league. I'm gonna get on a team and I'm going to get on the field.
Well, it basically all started when the Houston Hyenas started. I mean, was that like last year or something when they made their first year?
Right.
Yeah, well, basically, I guess you could say that if it wasn't for the Houston Hyenas starting out and Texas even having a representation in the Simulation Football League, because, you know, even though they do have a Dallas franchise, but I'm not really a fan of them because, well, my Houston affiliations, but still, if it wasn't for them, oh, come on. If it wasn't for them, the Houston Hyenas, I would not even be involved in the SFL like how I am, so to speak.
Right. But you're here now, and Houston has a team, and they got a pretty darn good organization. They're just falling up short. What did you see tonight on the field in the biggest way you think Houston can improve next week again in a rematch of that championship game?
Well, considering the fact that all I did was receive punts and kicks tonight, I didn't really see much. But in Darnell Black and in DR Sim, I think I can see those two improving a lot more when it comes down to getting offensive receptions. And as far as the defense is concerned, well, considering that we did lose 45-34, I would say that we would need to improve a lot more on the defensive side of the ball because Louisville was just at us all night long, and the same for the previous two opponents. So, you know, the defense, they need a lot of work, but I wouldn't be surprised if the entire team, myself included, work on improving a bit more, you know?
Right. Jamari Mito, wide receiver of the Houston Hyenas. Thanks for joining us on the call tonight.
You're welcome, Mr. Irvine, and thanks for having me a part of your community.
Oh, of course. Great call there. Houston representing on the show tonight, really taking the loss and wanted to tell everybody about it. 3 straight Hyenas on the call. Wonder if any other teams are going to represent themselves tonight. Sioux Falls has plenty to chatter about. They are also undefeated. Let's go through the standings a little bit in each division. The North is a 4-way tie at 1-2. Nobody has even a 500 record in the North right now, which is crazy. And all those teams are feeling pretty fortunate about that. Louisville and Dallas atop the East at 3-0, and then Cleveland and Carolina on the flip side at 0-3. Oklahoma City is trailing Sioux Falls in the West, but the West has had a great week. 4-0, the West. And we got another Houston Hyena on the call, 832. You're on the SFL Postgame Show.
Hey, Cam, how you doing?
Hey, Demond, how you doing? Demond Simien, owner of the Houston Hyenas, 4th straight Hyena. We did have another caller calling in. We'll get to you in a second. But, Demond, did you see any improvement and growth out of the team tonight?
Yeah. It hurts, man. This really hurts. I saw improvement from the passing game, in which we pretty much focused on this past week. But as far as the end of the game, going to the generic receiver, man, that hurt it. That wasn't part of the game plan at all.
Right. And Louisville, conceivably, you know, it looked like. I think what was so surprising about this night is typically when a team keeps exchanging punches, keeps fighting back, keeps clawing back, eventually they catch the break that they need to eventually win the game. And I thought that break was going to come when Overstreet went out of the game. Even though they came back in the game, there were a number of opportunities for Houston to sort of they traded a punch and they had a chance to land the final one, and they just couldn't tonight. Is that how you would assess the game, or did you see it in a different way?
Yeah, I thought that would have been a turning point in the game when Overstreet went out. But Overstreet showed, man, the type of player that he is, that he's not going to give up on his team. He's not going to give up on himself. He will fight to the end. I mean, he should have been a hyena instead of wolves, because wolves runs like little girls. But yeah, I mean, no disrespect to Lou Wolfpack or whatever. His team played outstanding, man. You can't take anything away from him. I just don't understand how last season we go from one of the top 5 defenses in the league to worse in the league this season. But I just want to say thank you to Greg Morris for coming on board and taking over the defense responsibilities and putting in work. There will be a shift and change. But this loss was very tough because I thought that we would take this win due to the accomplishment we had last season. But I knew that Louisville would come out swinging.
You want some French fries with that salt that you casually threw Louisville's direction there?
No, we just gonna throw that on Overstreet's arm.
Cleveland went 2-4 last year in the first 6 games, and they arguably were a playoff team last year that just didn't luck out or didn't get the ball to bounce their way. You're 0-3. If you go 2-1 in the next 2 weeks, you're in a position where they were in last year. Certainly, you feel like the Hyenas are capable of at least doing that through the next 3 games and getting yourself back to a point where you can challenge for a spot. Is there still the faith there?
Oh yes, most definitely, Cam. The faith is still there, man. Like I told you last week, just some more tweaks within the playbook. Defense played phenomenal. I mean, I can't really say they played phenomenal, but defense played really good. And that we're just looking forward, man, to the next week. We're going to make some more tweaks of the playbook this week, and, we'll be ready. We know how Queen City took advantage of us last year on the left side of the field, so we're going to make some adjustments there so they won't take advantage of that.
Demond Simien, owner of the Houston Hyenas. Thanks for the time, bud. Tough loss. Keep your head up.
All right, you too.
Hey, man, my head's up. The league's through 3 weeks. We're all good. 210-473-8428. We are a quarter of the way through the SFL regular season, and we've got 4 undefeated teams. 240. You're on the SFL postgame show. 240. We got you?
Yeah, you got me.
Jermaine Smith, owner of the DC Dragons, on the call. Well, you've seen him in person now. That Oklahoma City run defense wins out against Deion Hawkins tonight. What surprised you about the game besides your kicker doinking an extra point off the pole? I haven't seen that in years.
Well, I knew when he did it, I said that would cost the game, and I was wrong. So, yeah. He needs to be bitch slapped right now. Excuse my language.
Well, I'm sure you're not the only Dragon fan that feels that way. Hawkins did not perform up to his number 1 ranking this week. What did you see out of the Renegade defense that bottled him up tonight?
Well, they did a great job with their defense. They knew what they had an idea was going to run. We wanted to try something different. We wanted to spread the defense out a little bit more. So we, for this week, we wanted to abandon the run a little bit and go to more of a passing, more, versatile offense. And, we started out that way. We jumped up 13-3, and, it looked good. And once again, for the 3rd straight game, we come the second half, we don't show up. We go to the dressing room and, we go to the club instead of coming back to the field, basically. Play.
Yeah, I was going to say, but it was interesting. P.T. Peterson seemed to have an advantage on the outside. He was really gouging the Renegades, and that seemed to be the part of the game plan that was best effective against the Renegades. And it was almost like he disappeared in the second half.
Yep. Once again, we're a first half team, second half, we're elsewhere.
So in week 4, with Santa Fe coming to your house, a rematch of a game that I know is your favorite in SFL history and a lot of people's favorites too. What's it going to be like seeing Santa Fe on the field again? First off, will it bring back a lot of memories? And secondly, they're 3-0 and they're pretty good. So, just your thoughts on seeing that matchup again and what it means considering they're undefeated.
Well, I'll say it's going to be our toughest game to scout. It's going to be our toughest game this year. They got 2 wide receivers, and they're going to spread the ball out. They're going to throw all over the place, and it's going to be up to our secondary to get the job done. We're going to have to put them in the right position. Like tonight, we kept playing them back again, and what happened again, we got outright to death. And if we could keep that up, then Santa Fe is going to have 1,000 yards passing against us next week.
John Snow had another tremendous night tonight. I'm sure he'll be a part of your game plan, but is there anything that you can take from the way that Carolina defended Santa Fe? Because they had some pretty nice numbers and held them down pretty good last night.
Yeah, they did. I mean, I'll be watching that game over again and seeing what they did, and we'll implement what they did with their team, and we'll do it to our defense, and hopefully it'll work. Granted, their corners are better than ours, but for the most part, it's we'll have to put in that work. This loss is, usually I don't give props to the team, but hats off to OKC. We didn't beat ourselves this game, so another team decided to beat us. And so we're just going to have to go back and put the players put them in the right position for next week, because next week will be a track meet next week.
Despite
I've already foreseen it.
Despite the close last couple of losses, you're in a 4-way tie for the division lead, as all the teams in the North are 1-2. Did you foresee that coming into the year, heading into week 4?
No. Then again, I mean, it's almost like we're following the same trend as last season. We were known as the NFC East of the SFL. It's like right now, it's starting to look like the soup kitchen division of the SFL, if you ask me. So we have to wait. Like I said, we're all 1-2, and we're still everyone's first place, and hey, as long as you become the division leader and you win, that's a guaranteed playoff spot.
Yeah, it's interesting. The West Division went 4-0 in the first week of cross conference, and the North went 0-4. Jermaine Smith, anything to add on tonight's game at OKC?
No, that's about it. Like I said, hats off to OKC, and they ran the right scheme, ran jumbo sets, and had Brucey going. He got over 150 yards, I believe, and they capitalized on the 2 interceptions. They got 2 touchdowns. Our two interceptions. The first one we got 3 and out, and the second one, then we had like 5 or 6 plays. We didn't capitalize. They did. So hats off to them.
Great point, Jermaine. Thanks so much for the call.
Thank you.
210-473-8428. Open line once again. It's the end of the week, so we open it up to anyone who wants to call and give their thoughts on week 3 as we move through the show. Coming up towards the end of the show, but still would love to get your thoughts on where we are in week 3. Are you surprised at where the teams are? Who's the most surprising team? Who's the most disappointing team through 3 weeks in the season? Plenty of debate as we take a look at the Week 4 schedule coming up. We've talked a lot about Sunday night, Baltimore at Orlando, Carolina at Tallahassee, Cleveland at Minneapolis. Wednesday night, it is official. The Dallas Roughnecks and the Sioux Falls Sparrows will be flexed in to the main broadcast. A battle of undefeateds between Dallas and Sioux Falls, a rematch of the championship game last year with the struggling 1-2 Queen City Corsairs and 0-3 Houston Hyenas will be flexed out. 717, you're on the postgame show.
Hey, it's Doug Boas, buddy.
Hey, Doug, as host of Inside the SFL, I'm sure we'll get your expanded thoughts on some of this stuff Saturday, but where are you at with how things have gone through the first 3 weeks?
The first 3 weeks are absolutely ridiculous. The power rankings are already coming in, and they are all over the board, which I expected. I don't know if you caught the stat I posted in the chat room here tonight.
I did. Why don't you tell everybody who's listening on demand here?
Earlier in the season, during your preseason show, I announced that the strength of schedule for everybody. And it turns out the two teams that are currently first and second, respectively, in their divisions, actually have the two easiest schedules within the division, which I found to be very interesting.
So you're saying that that the teams last year that were weak are still weak. Is that the point that stat makes?
Possibly. We'd have to look at who everybody's played so far and really look into that, but maybe that's accurate.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, Dallas certainly isn't as weak as they were. Oklahoma City isn't as weak as they were, at least through the first 3 weeks of the season. Your biggest surprise, the one biggest surprise across the league, good or bad, for you, Doug, so far?
Queen City being 1-2. That's the biggest thing to me. I did not see that coming.
Even though they were just 7-5 last year. You know, they turn it on late in the year, kind of like Orlando does.
This is true, but, I mean, you come in as the defending champions, you make a bold move in getting rid of your star player,
right.
You hit the draft with the number one pick. They have three-time champions 3 times in 6 seasons. I'm still fresh and new to the league. Last year was my first year. I still suspected them to come out much tougher than they are this season. So I found it very interesting that they're currently 1-2, but it's early, and as good as they are, and Barkley and company, I'd have no doubt if they turned around and ended up finishing the season 10-2.
Cleveland, Carolina, Houston. Which team has the most hope to turn it around?
Houston, without a doubt, to me. Their offense is explosive. The defense, a few adjustments here and there, but they're in every game. I mean, Cleveland's been in every game, but their offense is not explosive thus far. That defense has been phenomenal. Carolina, it seems like they're starting to find their footing and getting Johnny English involved. But if I had to put my money on one, as I said, I'd take Houston.
Your Sharks host Louisville next week. How do you slow them down?
Yeah. How do we... Is this rated PG? Maybe we send Funk some drugs and hookers. I don't know. Maybe we keep him up all night. But it seems like he plays better when he's in his groove. I watched the game very close tonight, saw some things Houston did very well, saw some things I don't want to do. So hopefully I learned enough tonight to give it a shot. And I'm going to rely on my guys again to help me put together this playbook.
There's a lot of rookies in this class, and a lot of outstanding performances so far this year, and I know that you pay attention to the league as a whole very closely. Who is your rookie of the year through 3 weeks?
Oh, wow, that can go to a ton of guys. You got defensive standouts, but offensive standouts, but I'm going with Avery King.
Avery King.
He's just an absolute monster.
Yep.
He is all over the field. I mean, where would they be, even though they're 0-3, where would they be without him?
Right. Yeah, tremendous slate of games coming up in Week 4. As just a fan, which one are you looking forward to the most?
Oh, that's the best part of this league. I can't just pick one. The only way I can really say is all of them. But if I had to seriously sit here and give you a legit, honest-to-God answer for Week 4, yeah, this is tough. I wouldn't be surprised if Houston can get that win. That's interesting. But Dallas and Sioux Falls, because they're both undefeated, we'll see. I mean, you got the Italian Stallion. I jokingly said to Jason and A.J. Levy tonight, what will the Sparrows do against the Italian Stallion? Will they introduce the Apollo Creed defense?
Yeah, we're not sure. And Sioux Falls, I don't know what to make of that game tonight against NYC. It was just a bit of a mess all over the place all night. You know, Sioux Falls jumped out to 21-0 lead, and then it looked like the Sailors for a moment were going to pull the greatest comeback in SFL history, and then they sort of fell apart. So very interesting to see how Sioux Falls is going to play in their third straight home game, actually. Part of a 3-game homestand as Dallas is back on the road, and of course they've been the road warriors for most of the early part of the season. Well, Doug, Inside the SFL host, we'll see you Saturday night on Inside, and we hope everyone tunes in on TalkShoe and calls in there and gives their Week 4 and Week 3 thoughts, and you have a good time there, my friend.
We will for sure. Make sure everybody tunes in to Inside the SFL.
All right, thanks so much, Doug. Appreciate the call. That's Doug Boas, Inside the SFL host and owner of the Los Angeles Sharks, head coach of the Los Angeles Sharks. He wears a lot of hats in this league. That'll conclude the SFL postgame show. Louisville 45, Houston 34, Oklahoma City 17, DC 16, and Sioux Falls 34, NYC 24. This has been a presentation of the Simulation Football League and the SFL Network. From all of us in Louisville, Kentucky, and Blue Sun Stadium, I'm the SFL play-by-play commentator and commissioner, Cameron Irvine. Good night, everybody.